We are live. We have our good friend Steven back with us again. If anyone's new here, you probably don't remember him because it's been about, I don't know, a year now. For those of you that stuck with me that long, you probably remember him. I'll give him a little brief intro.
I was the guy that was going to get wrecked investing in Pokemon cards. Wrecked.
And did you?
No.
You know, I'm trying to look at this. Like, I don't see it coming up on YouTube. Is it just delayed?
I'm not seeing anything.
There. Okay, we're good. We're good to go. Okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and give you guys a little idea who we're talking to here. So we're going to touch on just a brief little amount of the financial markets, but obviously the Pokemon market too, guys. But basically how I met Steven is he reached out to me through, obviously my videos, but he's real invested in the financial markets. So if you guys don't know what Seeking Alpha is, Seeking Alpha, I mean, people write articles on there all about the market. A lot of them will be referenced, on CNBC, basically like some of the most trusted people out there, I mean, are writing for Seeking Alpha. Every trading platform you go on, they'll reference Seeking Alpha articles under whatever securities you're trading. But Steven's been on there a while. He's got over 32,000 followers. How many years you been writing for Seeking Alpha?
Middle of 2018, I think, or maybe the middle of 2019, somewhere pre-pandemic.
Like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many articles do you have now? I mean, hundreds, right?
958.
Almost 1,000 articles on there. If you guys want to go check out I've read some of these. They're really detailed, broken down, looks at every possible aspect of a company. And so, so it's Steven. How do you say your last name? I never know.
Fiorillo.
Okay. Check him out on Seeking Alpha if you guys want to check out any of his articles. But so we're definitely going to dive into some spreadsheets and stuff that he put together on the Pokemon market. But I also wanted to kind of start out with some of the financial market stuff, especially with the whole, Roaring Kitty coming back, the whole GameStop thing. And not just that, like that's part of it. But the big part is obviously how it relates to Pokemon is the whole them accepting PSA slabs. Anything PSA 8 or higher. And, depending on who you ask, some people are getting, good values. Some people aren't. But just how it's going to affect the trading card industry, what it means for their company is enough to turn it around. And so I definitely wanted to touch a little bit on that to someone who is a little more versed in the financial markets than I am, and GameStop as a company more than I am, to give a little more validity. So let's start out with GameStop, man. Then we'll jump into Pokemon. So you take it away, dude. What are we looking at with GameStop with this whole transition?
I mean, people are going to be shocked when I say this if they've ever read anything or know what I normally follow, but GameStop is no longer a meme stock. And I don't care what anybody says, it's no longer a meme stock. Doesn't matter if it goes to $100 or $5. Price volatility is price volatility. Ryan Cohen, their CEO, is an evil genius, the same way I'm an evil investor, and he just pulled a 24-foot rabbit out of a 6-inch hat. I mean, it's just, he took advantage of such an optimal situation. And I mean, I don't think we'll see something like this in a while. It's very interesting what he just did. So basically you have a whole community of investors that are going to buy the stock no matter what. Instead of tapping the debt markets and paying interest on debt maturities that you eventually have to pay back, he diluted the hell out of shareholders, and he raised cash from issuing more equity. He just raised $3.13 billion from 2 equity sales, and they had $999.9 million in cash on hand, and then another $83 million in short-term investments on the balance sheet. Short-term investments are normally investments that can be liquidated, that don't have to be held on the books for more than a year. Short-term treasuries, CDs, money markets, that type of stuff. So they had $1.08 billion in cash. So right now, GameStop is sitting on, tallying it up right now, 2.21 billion in cash. Now I'll share my screen and show you
which is
why.
really like important to like, because a lot of people are like, speculating about, the price they're paying for some of these slabs and, they're going to get wrecked, or what if this market dumps? What if, all the conspiracy stuff. But it's like, guys, I don't think you are we're talking billions of dollars.
I have a big theory about what's going to happen. So
there's no amount of slabs they can buy. I mean, I guess there's in theory enough. There's really not enough slabs they can buy to really hurt their balance sheet right now.
So Alex, share my screen real quick.
All right.
So we're going to nerd out on some income statements and financials.
Let's do it. That's what this night's about. This is a nerding out night.
All right. So what I did is I did a quarterly view so we can look at the quarters. So in the most recent quarter, look, GameStop's revenue is declining dramatically. Okay. They don't make money. When you look at the cost of revenue and then their operating expenses, their operating income has been in the negative over the past 11 quarters. They've only had 2 quarters where their operating income was positive, but their net income has also only been positive in 2 quarters. This is a company that perpetually loses money. They're losing less money because they're trimming their expenses. But here is where Ryan Cohen is an evil genius. You go to the balance sheet, and they had 1.08 billion in cash on hand. Here's the big thing. They don't have any debt. I mean, they had $14.9 million in long-term debt. That just doesn't matter with the amount of cash they have on hand. Their capital leases have been trending downward a little bit. I mean, this is a company that right now is financially healthy. You got $4 billion in excess of cash on hand. You're losing on a quarterly basis $32 million, $3 million, $2 million. I mean, you can keep this thing afloat at this run rate for a really long time. I mean, when we look at the annual look, it's not great. I mean, in 2015, 9.3 billion in revenue. The company was doing good for them. I mean, a couple $100 million in net income, but they've been losing money prior to the pandemic. And why is that? Because video games have been going digital. That means that the secondhand market is drying up and GameStop has a product that is declining. Now, here's the beauty of this, and I'm going to stop the share. What I think he's doing, he knows this guy's a really highly intelligent guy. He knows video games are not coming back to disc. It's just not happening. I mean, why would anybody go to GameStop to go buy a game when they can just download it? We have internet speeds that are a gig plus. You got Wi-Fi routers that have more than a gig on wireless bandwidth. You can download games pretty quickly. This isn't you're putting it on before you go to sleep and waking up and still waiting to download stuff. Right. You have in-game purchases. And what that means is that the secondhand market's dried up. If you don't have people buying games physically, certainly don't have people reselling them physically. So their bread and butter was the whole secondary market, getting people in there, trading games for store credit, getting a new game to play. That's done. So you now have this guy with $4 billion on hand. I think what he's going to do, because they started buying PSA grade 8 slabs and higher, I think you'll see them reduce their footprint a little bit. I think that they'll get rid of some of the capital leases for undesired locations. They'll keep the locations in the Class A malls, in shopping centers that are anchored by grocery stores that have a ton of foot traffic, and they will become the largest LCS or TCG shop, whatever acronym you want to use, in the nation. I think that they're going to get deals with Southern Hobby or whatever big distributors there are. They're going to refit their stores, and they're going to host regional, national tournaments. They'll put on their own GameStop-a-con, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, they already get their exclusive GameStop promos as it is.
Yeah, they already have the affiliation. They don't even need a distributor. They can probably just cut a deal right with the Pokemon company and be their premier place. And when you really look at the ability that they have the brand recognition with GameStop, so they already have the national footprint. You're already where all the foot traffic is. People go to malls all the time. And the biggest thing is there's probably a GameStop between most of the people that are in the chat and their local LCS.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of what Wizards of the Coast is with Magic, they consistent. I talked to my local card shop owner about it. They consistently put more and more parameters that you need to fit to be able to be like a play store and be able to get those exclusive deals or those exclusive products and all that stuff, because they want uniform, right? They want all the stores they're supporting to be in uniform, have certain things set up for the interior, want it to be inviting, all those types of things. It's like, well, that's what GameStop has. Like, you can literally, that's what the benefit of having a corporate giant like that is. You can literally redesign every single store to look exactly the same, exactly how the big companies want card shops to look like that. Whereas it's a lot harder for independent, card shop owners to try to do that. And obviously you're going to have the people that, hate big business, hate capitalism, blah, blah, blah. You're hurting the mom and pop. But this is just the way of the world.
That's Walmart. That's Amazon. I mean, that's everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
and
so
the
you
big thing with
either get on board or you can get out of the way, but you can't stay still.
It's a lot different for GameStop to make a U-turn and change directions with a war chest of $4 billion than somebody trying to start an LCS with $100,000.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, a lot different. They already have the footprint. They already have the infrastructure. They are buying up inventory, and they're buying it for what, 60, 70 cents on the dollar. So they're already going to be in the black on that, and watch them create their own marketplace at some point. I still think that they'll do that. I think they're going to become vertically integrated and go full gangbusters with Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I think they're going to become the premier. They'll have their own marketplace, and it'll become a place you can come trade your cards. You buy all your new product from. They're going to hold the tournaments. They'll have special deals, special sets. And look, with $4 billion, you can earmark $750 million to operating budget and just fund the losses until you become profitable, especially with them losing $30 million in 3 months. I mean, you got a long runway at that. Maybe you take $1 billion, you throw half in Bitcoin and half in Ethereum, since that's what your shareholders would probably cheer about and rave about, because a lot of them are probably invested in crypto, and it may not be a horrible idea. And then you still have $2.25 billion to play with. And you could take $500 million and allocate it toward buying slabs. You take another $500 million to buy inventory, another $100 million to retrofit stores, build out league. I mean, think about if they are able to convert their stores and make a quarter of it or half of the store for league play. They have league play 2 days a week or 3 days a week, one night for Yu-Gi-Oh, one night for Pokemon, one night for Magic, and then they have monthly tournaments or quarterly tournaments, and then the winners all play in some special tournament. Like, logistically, there's so much that they can do that I would be shocked if this is not what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I always see people in the chat like, look, their slab prices are crazy high. Guys, you hear that all the time about their game prices, right? Like, their used games are too high. You'll hear it about, it became a meme, right? That they don't give you any money for your trade-ins. Guess what happened every single day? People still traded in their games to GameStop for pennies on the dollar, and they still bought their overpriced used games, even though they were cheaper on eBay or in a local game shop or whatever. It's just the power of having a nationally recognized brand, the impression of a safe shop to walk in. Anyone that's buying things for someone that isn't like, in the weeds, they're just walking in a shop like that. They're buying whatever the retail price is on the shelf, and they're getting it for their kid or a present or a gift, whatever it may be. And I think, especially people real deep into hobbies or deep into like price, knowing all the prices, like, oh, I got to check eBay, TikTok, TCG Player, this person's website, my local game store. Like, guys, you have to understand the average person doesn't do that. They walk in the store, they can afford it, they buy it, and they go back. Like, it's just the way it works.
There's two important things that you said. First important thing is safe environment. I got news for everybody. If a mother is going to walk into a store, I would put a lot of money on the fact that they would rather walk into a GameStop than an LCS. Just saying. Most
Absolutely.
likely, I'm probably right on that. The other thing is, GameStop doesn't have to have low prices on the slabs because they don't have to sell them. They just got a ridiculous cash infusion. They're not in any hurry to sell slabs. They probably have those huge prices up just in case they can make an extra buck. But at some point, they can flip the switch and they can undercut everybody else and start making money on it because their margins are probably great because they're buying them for 60 or 70 cents on the dollar. And if they decide to turn the switch in a year, good chance they probably appreciate and their margin grew. And they can undercut the market and they can create a national database. They can drop ship. You buy stuff online. I mean, there's a lot that they can do with this.
So, I mean, obviously, we're not like a stock channel here. We're not trying to predict prices and talk about trading, but like,
oh, I don't own GameStop.
No,
I don't own it or anything like that. I just
no. No, my question was going to be like, obviously, the whole Roaring Kitty being back's having crazy effects, crazy swings. But do you have any like, based on the research you've done, do you have any idea like what a fair price for that stock should be, like based on your analysis?
Fair is subjective in everybody's eyes, right? So right now you got a company in GameStop that has a $10.7 billion market cap. You got $4.2 billion in cash on hand, and they lose money and they have declining revenue. Okay.
And it's not a startup. It's not a tech company. It's nothing that should be losing money at the stage.
There's no growth. Like, keep in mind, the growth is negative with revenue right now.
Yeah.
So this is a turnaround. Like, they're losing money. So does it deserve?
Yeah, it's not like saying Amazon's losing money. So this is a lot different, right?
Yeah. Well, Amazon was losing money when their revenue was growing like gangbusters. So it's a little bit of a different situation. Is a market cap at 10 billion too much for a company that has 4.2 billion? That's an individual question. I am not buying right now, but there is a price in my mind that GameStop actually gets interesting. And I never thought in a million years I would say that. I never thought I would actually say out loud or even in my own head that GameStop at some point looks interesting. And I think if the market cap gets to like 4 or 5 billion, looks really interesting because you're basically taking a bet on Ryan Cohen and his execution and the ability to switch lanes and do something with this. Because I'm not looking to buy options and hope that there's a massive short squeeze or anything. I don't care. Like, if that's what you want to play, this could be good. It may not be good. Who knows? But from an investment at a 5 billion market cap, just a small premium on their cash on hand, it may be worth something.
And then shift gears a little bit before we really jump into the Pokemon stuff is, you're a big sports card guy. You came to Pokemon from sports. Mm-hmm. I know, you watch a lot of the sports podcasts. I know you send me some of them. I watch some of them, but, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, Fanatics is really wanting to change the landscape of that hobby too. Like we talked about,
they're wanting to get away of Michael Rubin is a savage. Like, this guy is just.
They want to get rid of that whole 80s, 90s hole in the wall card shop that looks uninviting. They want to aren't they like going to get to the point where they're not even going to support them anymore?
I mean, that's the rumor from everything that I've seen. It really does look like they're sending out reps to all the different card shops, and they're going to be working with them to help upgrade. And they haven't, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but they haven't actually said, and once again, to my knowledge, that they're not going to support places. But that's the feel that a lot of these sports card shop owners are getting from the videos that I've seen that I've sent you. And it just seems like Ruben really wants a sports card shop that is modern, full of light, looks clean, looks inviting, with social media presence. He wants to 10x it. You're not 10xing it with a card shop down the road that has paneling from the 80s that smells like smoke or doesn't have an Instagram account with thousands of followers. Like, that's not what they want their card shops to be.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like there's always going to be this battle between like that like hardcore group of collectors that like that like mom and pop style feel, and basically where the whole landscape's headed. It's like, I get it. You want to have that little in-town place and barely anyone's ever there, and you know the owner and everything's real. But like the truth is, I mean, they want those real big, flashy, wall of windows, inviting spaces that the general public doesn't feel like standoffish to walk into, right? Like you have to be like really part of this. It needs to be a commercialized location that's inviting, that bright, very easy to tell what's going on. Like you said, social media presence, post, with active posts and things. And yeah, I mean, I know he's trying to take it that way. It sounds like to an extent, Wizards and Pokemon are trying to take the TCGs that direction. Like with GameStop, doing what they're doing, it just seems like the landscape is headed that way and like away from that old school shop.
Yeah, it's changing. It's certainly changing. I mean, if anybody watches any of Jeff Wilson's videos, sports card investor, he just opened up, I think the place is like 14,000 square feet or something like that. It's massive. It is state of the art in every single way. I highly suggest looking at what his shop is called, Cards HQ. I highly recommend people looking at that, because that's what, and that not on a size level, but on a concept level, that's what I think you're going to see the industry as a whole, from sports cards to TCG shops, start to look like, because it's 2024. It's not 1985.
Right. And then, yeah, I mean, another statistic I wanted to throw out too. Remember when I think it was Jeff Wilson, he had the CEO of either Collectors Universe or it was PSA. It was one of the
Collectors. Two. Collectors owns PSA.
Yeah, and he was saying that Pokemon is starting to eclipse.
It's his biggest sales.
What's that?
It's his biggest sales for boxes.
The grading. So for the grading, right?
I thought he said that more than 50% of his, in one of his videos, I swear I heard this, or maybe I heard it wrong.
No, you did. I watched.
More than 50% of his retail from just sealed product is Pokemon.
Yeah, and but then the PSA rep said that more than 50% of the cards they're grading are like it's Pokemon is starting to eclipse sports for the first time ever.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy. And then he said, which was really crazy, guys, this is going to blow your mind, One Piece is the number 2 TCG being graded right now.
I was shocked when I heard that.
One Piece. So One Piece is at the point now where it is being graded more than Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, anything else at this point, Lorcana, whatever it may be. It's not saying that it's not saying like, whatever, like One Piece is the second biggest TCG. Obviously there's Magic, but it's that many people are grading it, meaning the interest does seem to be headed there very rapidly. So yeah, that was some good stuff. I did want to discuss. I think it was a good combo. You prepared some spreadsheets for us that you put together. Am I right?
I mean, I make spreadsheets about everything. So yeah, I did.
All right. So what are we talking about tonight? What are we talking about?
Well, back to what I had said originally about why I'm not going to get wrecked, because one, don't follow me into anything. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is not financial advice. This is what I am doing for fun. Look, I'm buying Pokemon cards as an alternative asset because there is a track record of appreciation. Plain and simple. I know nothing about Pokemon. I'm not into it. I don't care about it. I'm an evil investor. Okay.
Dude, hey, right now, there's so many people that are gonna watch this and cringe so hard. You are the person that all the real hardcore like hobby purists, they don't want you in their hobby.
Cool. Buy me out. Have fun with that. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can walk into a store and buy a box of Pokemon cards the same way as the next person. Don't know what to tell you. Sorry.
Love it.
Like, the bottom line is everybody has access to the data. It's just some people don't take the time to aggregate the data. I do. And when I do that and I go back and I actually look at the full subset of the data, Pokemon boxes have outpaced the S&P 500. I mean, it's plain and simple. So I'm going to share the screenshot that I sent you.
It's another very taboo thing in this hobby. I mean, I used to get like crucified and wrecked for even mentioning stocks in the same sentence as Pokemon, which is.
What do you compare it to then? I mean, I don't know what you compare it to.
The way I've always said it is if you have And let's just say it is just a fun thing, right? Let's say you get paid, you pay your bills, you're responsible, you put money in your 401k, maybe even throw extra money in a Roth IRA, and you have extra money sitting over, and you're saying, well, I could throw this in an index, or I could throw this in a Vanguard mutual fund, or I could put it in Pokemon. It's like, at that point, you have to compare it, right? Or else where are we comparing anything to?
I did all of this yesterday. So this is a day old. The market went up today. These numbers are going to be different. Cut me some slack. It's a day old. I use VOO because that's my preferred S&P 500 index fund for ETFs. SPY if I'm selling options against it, but as a strict investment, I like VOO a little bit better than SPY only because management fees are a little lower, et cetera, et cetera. But these investments from the time frame, there is a site, dividend reinvestment something. You can go into the calculator and it'll tell you, you can put in the date and it'll tell you how much the initial investment with $10,000 would have grown into with the dividends reinvesting. So full freight, not just the appreciation, but the appreciation with the dividends reinvesting.
And to be clear, I mean, 105 starting price is more than fair. Like that's above and beyond what you realistically could have got the boxes at. So that's more than fair.
Yeah, I mean, $105 I think is a pretty fair price. I can go in and change it, but look, you can buy boxes for under $100. So that's an arbitrary number. We can debate that another time. But Flashfire, so I did XY Sun and Moon Sword and Shield. Not really doing Scarlet Violet right now because you need time for these things to go out of print and appreciate. But every single one of the XY boxes, I believe, has outpaced the S&P 500. I mean, Flashfire is up 3,328%. From that same date, you would have generated a 267% return in the S&P. Now, is that an outlier? Sure. There's only 3 boxes that are up quadruple digits. But every single one of these boxes from XY, the lowest one is 252%. And if you had invested in VOO on August 2nd, 2016, you would be up 180%. So even that box, which was the laggard, is up over the S&P. You go into Sun and Moon, same thing. Just about every box has outpaced the S&P, and so on and so on. And in the aggregate, if you had bought one box of each of these boxes from these 3 errors, you would have spent $3,675. The current price would be $23,000 and change. You would have generated over $19,000 in profit, a 527% return. If you had invested. Now, keep in mind.
The other thing I like to always mention is $105. A box is only released every 3 months. So you're talking about someone having to budget $35 a month to be able to have made almost 20 grand in the past 10 years. That is doable for pretty much every single person.
And keep in mind, the site I use, when you do the actual calculator, you have to use $10,000 as the denomination. I wanted to use 105 to make it apples to apples, but it automatically is a preset with 10 grand. So the bottom line is that the overall appreciation, if you had put 10 grand in VOO on each of these same dates, you would actually only be up 122%. So yes, Pokemon sealed product in these 3 errors since 2014 has outpaced the S&P 500 by about 3.5 times. That's what it is. Those are the raw numbers.
Okay, so now I'm going to play the devil's advocate because this is what all the bears always do to me, right?
Yeah, but I already got you covered because I know you're going to ask, and that's on the next slide. But go on.
Is it everyone always says, well, just looking back at past data, it doesn't really tell us how future data is going to perform. And also, there's all these different outliers. There's COVID, there's this, there's that run, there's this, bull market. It's like,
yeah, I can't predict the future. This is what happened in the past. It may not happen in the future.
My point is you're in the financial markets and you can tell everyone every single thing in life, right? Whether it be the stock market, whether it be like insurance, whether it be, just take anything you want, commodities, every single thing we do in life is based on past performance, It has to be, right? But for some reason, it's always like this stupid thing in Pokemon that nobody wants to ever look at past performance as any indicator of the future.
Yeah, I don't understand why that is. I mean, yes, past performance does not guarantee future returns, but that's the same in anything. The difference is with stocks, you have financials that you can read and go through, and you can look at how much free cash flow is Apple generating, what's their revenue growth. You can actually look at all those different things. You don't have that with investing in Pokemon or sports cards, but you do have previous data, and you do have a market that people are spending more and more money. And then Pokemon is the biggest media franchise in history, period. I mean, those stats.
What I always say too is, sure, the stocks have, fundamentals behind them, but the reality is, the people that are propping up all these funds, these Fidelity funds, Vanguard, all these, everyone with their money in 401ks, none of them look at any of it. They get handed a sheet from their company with a bunch of options on their 401k, and they look at all their past performance and they say, okay, I'll pick this fund, this fund, this fund, and this fund. And they put their investment dollars to work. It's literally zero different.
Yeah. I mean, it's odd. It's odd. But what I thought you were going to say is it's so much harder to get out. Yeah, it is. Like with a stock or a mutual fund or
liquidity
issue. Okay. Just click a button and get out of it. You have an actual liquid market. This, you actually have to work a little bit. But even working, eBay fees at 13.5%, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is the eBay selling fee for this, correct?
13.25, same thing.
Whatever. So I'm overestimating. I mean, on XY, you're still doing pretty damn good. I mean, you're still making a good amount of money on every box. I mean, your gross profit is more than double on every box, and your net income is more than double on every box. You go to the next one, Sun and Moon. Your worst one is Crimson Invasion, where you made roughly, I don't know, 74% or so. Like, I don't know. This is the data. The data is the data. Like, this is the facts. This is not distorted. I did all the math yesterday. Like, this is why I buy sealed product.
And I mean, as far as the liquidity goes, like I don't know if anyone else has said it's as easy as stocks, but guys, stocks are always going to be the most liquid thing. But you have to ask yourself, is the increased, is the increased return that we've seen in the past, it's not guaranteed, but if it was to continue that same trend, is that worth the extra amount of work to realize those much larger gains? Same thing you said about real estate, right? I mean, look, if you go back to like when downtimes in real estate market, it's not liquid. Like, not right now, maybe it's liquid. You can throw a house in the market, it's gone in like a week. It wasn't always that way, right? Go back to 08, 09, 10, like you had houses sitting on the market for months. So there's other markets that people invest in that aren't like immediate liquidity. So if liquidity is an issue for you and you might need the money tomorrow, may not be for you. But it is relatively liquid. I mean, there's a thing called forced liquidity. You take pictures, you throw it on a 7-day eBay auction, it gets gone in 7 days. So it's pretty liquid.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the amount of money that is currently in it, if you watch any of the videos from Collector Con or any of that stuff, there's a lot of money being spent at conventions. You look at eBay sales, there's a lot of money being spent on eBay. Like, there is liquidity in the Pokemon and the Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh market and One Piece market, but it's a different type of liquidity. It's not instant. And you actually need to ship or go somewhere. You need to work for your money to get out. I mean, this may not be for everybody. For me, it's interesting because I can sit on it and it doesn't matter, right?
Well, let's talk about the work, right? There's a company, if you guys don't know, called Probstein.
Oh, God. So, I mean,
anything over $1,000 is 5%, correct?
He moves so much stuff that he charges 5%. Yeah.
So look, look, guys, I'm sponsored by Arizona TCG. I think they're a great company and their fees are great. And I mean, they charge you 13.5%, anything over $100, no shipping charge. It's literally less than what you're going to pay on eBay. But when it comes to Probstein, Arizona TCG, they just do slabs. Literally, Probstein does everything. So if you're worried about the liquidity of your cases or you don't want to do the work, all this stuff, just you can send Probstein all of your stuff, anything over $1,000 sale, and they'll sell cases, they'll sell boxes, they'll sell cards, anything over 1,000, it's 5%. So no work except filling out their form and shipping them all your stuff. They list it all, they sell it all, they send you a check. They only take 5%. So very little fees, very little liquidity issue, and very little work if you want to go that route.
Yeah. And I think another thing is forget the whole pandemic thing. You're not putting it back in the box. Okay. The sports card market and the TCG market are going the way they're going. You have a lot of money moving in and a lot of money being spent. Bigger shops are opening, more conventions are happening. It's becoming more liquid. So the whole thing about, well, these boxes only appreciate because of COVID. Well, I don't know if that's true. Look at how they evolved. It's already at 128. So that's not even out of print yet. And I thought Scarlet and Violet era was horrible. So,
well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I just had a big argument in my Discord the last couple of days about Japanese.
No, really? Your Discord argument? Really? Go figure.
About Japanese 151. And, I got crucified for the last, I don't know, 6 months, a year when I was trying to tell everyone this Japanese bubble was coming, right? So then it came, no one's there to, take their L and admit they were wrong. Well, then I took so much heat in the last few months for telling people, do not buy Japanese 151 at $80, $100, $120. It's going lower. It's going lower. It's going lower. And I cannot tell you, I probably had 20 people typing against me at all times. And I was like the only person trying to defend it, telling me I'm just a hater. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't follow the market. I wouldn't know. And now that it's gone way lower, it's still continuing to go lower. I literally had people in there tell me, Alex, no one was ever saying that. I'm like, okay. And it's the same thing with this COVID talk. It's like after COVID, right? When I started my YouTube channel, everyone was against modern investing, right? They were all saying Sword and Shield was overprinted. The cat's out of the bag now. COVID brought everyone in the hobby. Everyone's an investor. There's too many people doing it. Everyone's got boxes in their closet. It's not going to perform like Sun and Moon and XY. Well, it is though, right? Like we go back and look at XY and Sun and Moon, how they performed in their first, year, 3 years, 5. Like Sword and Shield is doing relatively better. Scarlet Violet's already doing better than Sword and Shield when it was first came out. Technically it was better because it was during the pandemic, but the popularity, like how many people are still buying it, even though there's tons of supply on the market. So it's like every time something, a new set or time goes on, there's a million people there to say why it's not going to work. But as soon as things start working, all those people disappear. And then they even deny that they even said it wasn't going to work.
Well, keep in mind, you need time. And look, we are talking about sealed product. We are not talking about picking slabs or buying raw and grading and trying to flip. We are having a discussion around sealed product. And every day that goes by until, let me rephrase this. Once the printing press stops and a set goes out of print, every day that goes by, there's less of that product in existence because more and more boxes get open. Whether it's a shop that's opening boxes to have packs to sell individually, whether it's breakers that are opening product for streams, or people just buying boxes to open the packs. Over time, there's less product, and if the demand is still there, you're going to get prices to go up. So if you have somebody like me that can legitimately sit on it for 10 or 20 years and not look at it and doesn't care about it, maybe one day it hits, maybe it doesn't. But based on the past performance, relatively good bet.
Yeah, and another thing you have to think about is hobbies like this, they're not something people tend to grow out of, right? Like you might, go leave, come back, things like that. But I mean, lifetime hobbyists, collectors collect, right? And what do collectors do when they get more money? Well, they get up their lifestyle a little bit, but they're able to spend more money on their hobbies, on their collectibles. And that usually doesn't change. Like, you have people die with multi-million, tens of $100 million in art collections and watches and wines and whatever else may be. This is our generation's version of a lot of that stuff. We're not really as much into World War II memorabilia or all those things. We buy Pokemon cards. We buy sports cards. We buy these types of collectibles. And
So
I
I'm
mean,
looking at the
us
chat. I
further,
probably shouldn't look at the chat, but there's some
yes.
hilarious things like where do you store it? Get a storage unit. Like I don't keep stuff on hand. I have a storage unit somewhere that nobody knows about. Like you're not going to catch me with all this stuff in my home. Like that's just not happening. There's stuff in safe deposit box, stuff in the storage unit. And then the other one, don't buy it at all unless you enjoy for collecting. Well, I'm buying it for investing and betting that it's going to go up and I'm going to sell to make money on it in the future. I could care less about collecting it.
Oh man, every time you say that, I love it because it's rattling so many people in this hobby. Like this, I don't know if it's just Pokemon or if it goes for like everything. Like I don't know if it's like that in the comic book space or like the figurine space or like even Magic. I don't know if it's just Pokemon or just TCGs, but for some reason the core like collector enthusiasts, they always cringe at that. They always cringe at people wanting to make bets and make money in the hobby.
Yeah, it's called capitalism. Like this has a long-term track record of going up. And I'm sorry, but you look at if anybody watches Rudy's videos, he may know something about something. He's pretty accurate with what he says is going to happen. And he's got a very interesting take on things. And I think he's probably correct on his future outlook. And look, this is something that you need years and years and years to sit on. And look what happened recently. So we've been out of the pandemic for years now. Look at what just happened with all the boxes in Sword and Shield. Brilliant Stars went out of print, shut up. Look at Fusion Strike. Everybody said that was a dead set. What's that going for? 226 or 232, something like that now? I mean, look at Chilling Reign. That was a dead set. That went down to what? $80 in the second reprint or something like that. Right. Dead set. Shot right up. I mean, you can't really say it's because of the pandemic. The pandemic wasn't here when these boxes were mooning. And they haven't even moved.
It's just a line a lot of people like to use just because, you know, a lot of things happened before the pandemic, right? Evolutions was getting reprinted like crazy. They reprinted Roaring Skies. So a lot of people don't want to talk about this, right? They don't want to talk about the fact that Roaring Skies was a $300 booster box before the pandemic ever came. It got reprinted. It got reprinted so hard. No, Roaring Skies. It got reprinted so hard that it sent it way down. And then people say, well, the only reason it went up was the pandemic. No. It was already up, right? It got reprinted and then came back. It was so strong. Flashfire was already in the 300s before the pandemic. XY base, Phantom Forces, those had already started to move up into the mid 100s before that. So the pandemic happened when XY was starting to age. And so it like intensified the growth. But it wasn't the reason for the growth is XY era was starting to become old enough to see growth.
So can you put that one from 1018 up? Dude doesn't realize how little gains there was before 4 years ago. And then Alex, ask me if I care.
Well, how much do you care, man?
Zero.
I'm going to go ahead and share.
Here's why I don't care. Because you know what? From the research I've done, there was gains before 4 years ago. It may not have been as much as today, but right now I am living in 2024, not 2019. And in 2024, this is the track record. This is the data. And I am making my decisions off of the data. And guess what? If it goes bust, cool. Like that's the thing. I'm not putting in money that is going to impact me at all if this stuff goes to bust.
Yeah.
I think that's what people seem to not grasp.
Yeah, I think that's one thing people don't understand too, is like there's people out there that can afford to do this, and it's not. They're still covered everywhere else. They're investing other places.
Like,
still
this
small
is
part
an
of their portfolio.
Alternative asset that has the potential to outpace other investments, and if it doesn't, it really doesn't matter to me.
So here, guys, if you don't, I just pulled it. These are pretty similar to the racks that I use. Okay. If you want to store it yourself, you don't need all this room. These are 48 by 24 by 72 racks, right? There's 5 shelves.
A lot of boxes and a lot of cases on that.
So you can fit 2 to 3 high, depending on how you set these. They're customizable. 2 to 3 high booster boxes, I believe that have them 7 or 8 across. So you're thinking there's 14 to 21 or 24 booster boxes. So 14 to 24 booster boxes per shelf. So you're talking like, let's say 20, I mean, over 100. We'll say over 100 booster boxes. So let's just, or over, sorry, cases. So 100 cases, that's $600 a piece. That's already 60 grand. All right. This is one little shelf that fits literally anywhere in your house or apartment. So if you don't even have 60 grand yet in booster boxes, don't even complain about space. If you can't fit 2 or 3 of these in your house or apartment, I don't know, maybe, get a bigger place and more space, but 2 or 3 of these is going to hold $120,000, $180,000 in product. Oh, by the way, that's at purchase price. When those start to rise, let's say every case doubles. Well, now you're going to be holding like 200, 300, 400 grand. So space really shouldn't be the issue. It's just kind of this like hot topic that's thrown around a lot. It's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be.
No, I don't think people really grasp the concept of how much space cases actually take up when you stack them on something like that. Like, you got to be spending a lot of money to have a space problem.
Yeah. Here we're gonna. This guy keeps talking about. So before COVID boom, how many booster boxes from XY were above 300? All right, man. Obviously, it's just flash fire before the COVID boom. But here's the thing: it's like saying I don't know. I'm trying to think of other instances in life. It's like saying, going back before something. It's like, oh well, before TV, how many advertisers advertise, or how much return was there for advertising? Before YouTube, it's like. You can't, like he said, you can't put the cat back in the bag. Like we're a huge shift in the culture, right? Pokemon became mainstream. We had YouTube blow up. Now we have Instagram, TikTok. We have it being thrown in everyone's face 24/7. It's also, people have seen success in it. They see improving track record, which gives even more confidence that it's going to continue, which draws more money in, which allows people to feel safer holding the asset. And so it's just, you can't look at things like, it's kind of the discussion me and Poke Knowledge gotten into about how things were performing back in 2005 or 2010. It's fine to look at that data. It's just not indicative of what's happening now or what will happen in the future. You have to look at what happened after everything came out of the bag.
I have a theory about this. So I have a theory that less people care about art from people that are 40 years old and under, maybe 50 years old and under, than the previous generation. Less people care about those things. I think more people care about the collectible space that are of those age ranges, 20, 30, 40 years old. And I think Gary Vee has hit on the head multiple times when he's discussed it. And the other thing is, YouTube was not a big thing in 2019 or pre-pandemic. It just wasn't. You look
not
at
for Pokemon.
It wasn't big, period. Like, you didn't have all these huge views and everything. Instagram was not nearly as big. The amount of Instagram reels, accounts with Pokemon cards with the pictures, Pokemon videos, sports card investing stuff that is all over social media across all the different outlets is so in depth that the hobby is continuing to expand, and you have more money coming into the hobby than ever. And that's not changing. And I think that that's something people need to realize, that we're not going back to 2019. People like Michael Rubin, he was forced to sell his portion of the 76ers to buy Topps. I mean, his goal is to 10x the sports card hobby. He's rivaling the National. In the summer, he's putting on this huge Fanatic show at the Javits Center in New York City. And they are working nonstop around the clock to do everything they can with the shops and everything else to 10x the hobby. That's going to bleed over into this, especially with Collecticon and everything else. This is only getting bigger from the data that we see, from the impressions that all the videos are getting, from the amount of sales on eBay. So until those trends reverse, it's very hard to take anything seriously about, well, it wasn't like that before COVID. Well, I got news for everybody. It's 2024, different era.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it goes back and it changes, but that's not what the data suggests.
Yeah, I think that's what people kind of miss. Is I think people are just a lot of people are kind of both, right? They're collectors and they want to invest, they want to hold stuff, or they really like the hobby, maybe like the game, whatever it may be. I think it feels unnatural. And whenever people get on the screen and talk about things in terms of assets, in terms of the numbers, in terms of literally just investing and not worrying about all the other aspects of it, it just kind of, it doesn't feel right. Right. And I think that's more what it is than actually not believing the research or believing the numbers. It just doesn't feel like it should be that way to them,
So this guy is, so crypticism, make sure you're here in like the next 3 minutes. I'm going to blow your mind. YouTube was, all right, let's see. Okay.
Guys, make sure if you are here to like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Obviously tonight's a little different, right? Like normally we're just keeping it Pokemon centered, but I like to take a break every now and then from talking the old Pokemons. You guys know I'm a numbers guy. I like talking the numbers from time to time.
It's fun.
And that's the thing I think that the people who, investors are evil, all that stuff is they don't get is like, maybe not everyone enjoys like just staring at the art or playing the game. Like some people actually just enjoy numbers. Like you said, you make spreadsheets for everything. I make tons of spreadsheets. Like I enjoy, going over and looking at stocks and diving into the companies, diving into the numbers of Pokemon, looking at the pop reports. Like I enjoy numbers. Like it's a completely legitimate way to enjoy the hobby as much as someone flipping through a binder looking at cards.
I mean, it's just one of those things where if people want to play the game, great. Enjoy playing the game. People want to collect, enjoy collecting. People want to invest and put their money at risk, enjoy it. Like you can do all those different things. I don't think there should be any animosity for any of the avenues. They all have a place in it. I mean, somebody's not wrong for playing the game. Somebody's not wrong for collecting, and somebody's not wrong for investing.
What's your strategy that you think is going to be in the future when you sell? Like, do you think are you more likely when a position hits like the price that you're looking to move out at that you'll just spend that time dumping that entire position, or are you more likely to like sell enough to recoup any cost you put in and let the rest ride? What are you more of a fan on?
I mean, I've thought about taking a couple of cases from the sets and trading them in. So let's just say hypothetically you buy 5 cases per set or whatever it is. Okay. Well, let's say 2. Let's use these even numbers. You buy 2 cases per set. When the case doubles, maybe go with LCS and trade in, get 2 cases of the new setting, keep the other case, sit on it, wait another couple of years and get out of it. And that's something that is plausible. I don't know. I mean, I have no intention of selling anything anytime soon. So, I mean, if something goes up 5, 6, 7x, maybe I'll get out of it. I don't know. But that's the thing. I don't need to sell. So when opportunity presents itself, maybe there's a lot of hype around the set that everybody thinks is going to do real well. And instead of just putting more cash into it, maybe I trade into it. I don't know. Maybe I go to a convention and I trade into sports cards or something else that I want. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's what like blows people's minds too. Is I think a lot of people, even though they have a long-term mindset, quote unquote, is they definitely jump out at the first sign of growth or appreciation, right? Like right now with Sword and Shield, there's so many people jumping out at $180, $200, $220 a box in a lot of these sets. And it may not because maybe they don't need the money. Maybe some do. Maybe some have those 0% interest credit cards coming due. Maybe some just realize that they don't really actually need the money and they can't afford to do this, whatever it may be. But it does seem like a lot of people start to jump out at the first sign of growth and then they miss out on the long term. And they wonder, well, how did they all end up with all of it? It's like, oh, they must be, whatever. It's like, well, it's because they don't need the money. Like you said, if they don't need the money, they don't need the money at if it's $600 a case, $1,200 a case, $1,800 a case, $2,400 a case, right? If they didn't need the money then, they probably don't need it now. And just because it rose in value $1,000 or $2,000, it's not going to change the overall outlook and the reason why they're holding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big thing that you need to keep in mind, that if somebody doesn't need to sell, it doesn't matter how much it goes up. They'll sell when they want to sell.
Yeah. What are you looking for?
I'm trying. So and I don't know why this is on Alphabet's, and I can't stand when people call it Google because that's not the name of the company. On Alphabet's investor relations site, they don't go past 2021 earnings, but I am going to try find something from pre-pandemic.
I'll
But I
take
am going
so
through
this
all.
is something I've discussed with a lot of people, like a lot of people. I say like probably like 5, 6 people lately. Like Tyler says, I came from sports, having him at cards, or maybe it's cars. I don't know. Probably cards. I would say
So
Pokemon comments are more toxic than sports cards.
100%.
Yeah, and
But
I've heard that from a bunch of people. So I've heard that from people in the Lego community. I've heard that from people in the comic book community. And basically, like, I don't know why it is. And, it's even why I've even discussed with people, like, starting to take a step back from this side of things and get more into like just pack
dude, the
breaks.
sports card community is so inclusive. It's unbelievable.
And that's why I even discussed.
So inclusive.
I thought about just doing more rips and stuff just because on my pack rip nights, which guys, if you didn't know, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., we always do pack breaks. We got pack battles again this week, which will be fun. But everyone's always so, so supportive, so having a great time, rooting everyone on. No one's, even if you don't get your hits you want, you're not upset. You're not calling things, this or that. You're not upset about the price of this card or that pack or whatever. It's like, it just seems like in this specific investing space in Pokemon, everyone's always got something negative to say, is always upset about something, always wants to try to tear someone down. No one's rooting for anyone or wanting anyone to do good. Anytime anyone makes any money, they did something wrong. They're a scumbag, and then whenever you try to like call someone on it, right? Like I did on that podcast I was on, with all those people, it's, no, we're good. No one dislikes investors. What do you mean? It's like, all right, if we're going to play that game, but it's very real that everyone can kind of notice it. When you invest in this hobby, it's frowned upon.
Yeah, it's wild. Oh, that's funny. He's in a fake house. Yeah, it's called a background because I don't want to show what's on my walls behind me. Like, no shit. Go to my screen that I'm showing, please.
All right, what do we got?
This was the furthest back Q1 earnings I could find from Alphabet Investor Relations. YouTube revenue from ads in 2020 Q1 was $4 billion. In 1 year, it jumped 50% because of how big YouTube got during the pandemic. Okay. Now, it didn't switch. Hold on.
Let me take it down. Oh, there we go.
No, yeah, I'll share that one now. Hold on. Okay. In 2024, we're at 8 billion. So we went from 4 to 8 billion in 4 years on YouTube ads. And
100%.
Q1 2020 was when COVID happened. So when I said YouTube wasn't that big pre-pandemic, it really wasn't. You think about the amount of shows, all in podcasts. Number one business podcast didn't start for, it didn't start until 2022. Compound and Friends, all these shows that are legitimate, Patrick Bet-David podcast, all these things were not around. Okay. YouTube
and even
is
if they were around, they weren't near the size they are now, right?
Like, it's just crazy for anybody to say that YouTube was as big or even close to where it is today than pre-pandemic, because that's just not true. The revenue generated from YouTube ads has went from 4 to 8 billion from Q1 2020 to Q1 2024, and then pre-pandemic it was even less. So I mean, it's just,
well,
look at facts.
Sure, baby J, it's not 50%, it's 100%. It's 100%.
4 to 8 is 100%. 4 to 6 is 50%.
I mean, and also, like, that's YouTube as a whole, right? Like, I know from experience, right? I was watching YouTube. The Pokemon channels from 2016 to 2019, you could pretty much hold them in your hands. Like, there was like a group of people talking about Pokemon. You had maybe like SM Pratt talking about investing. Rudy was obviously there. And then you had some openers. You had some like Unlisted Leaf, Leonhardt, some other people. But now I couldn't even tell you how many Pokemon channels. And everyone seems like, I'll click on a new Pokemon channel all the time. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 3,000 subscribers. Like, there are the vastness of the amount of people talking about this hobby, other hobbies, Magic, sports cards, investing. It is so much larger than it's ever been. And that has a huge role in the fact of, proliferating the hobby further.
So, and I love the comment. It's just indicative of what the Pokemon community is. Think about what I'm saying. YouTube was not nearly as big pre-pandemic than what it is today. I'm not saying that it wasn't big or didn't exist. I'm saying it's not nearly as big. I mean, those numbers were from 2020. The context of what I said was 2018, 2019. I mean, and if you look even back further, tell me anybody that was really watching YouTube back then. I mean, seriously, was it even nearly as popular as it is today? No.
Well, it was the kids, right? So like it was watching like the video gamers, it was watching like the pranksters, it was watching like the Jake Paul, Logan Pauls. It was that side of things that was YouTube, right? Where it's shifted now to where it's like legitimate like business content. There's podcasts, there's much more structured. I would say it's much more structured now. Like the categories.
Every news network has a YouTube channel. I mean, CNBC wasn't big on YouTube back then. It's huge now. They do clips every day from every segment. Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, Schwab, everybody has a YouTube channel.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's evolved. It's evolved into a much more legitimate space, much more legitimate form of income, much more legitimate.
And that's the other reason why this is likely to continue forward, because of all the exposure on YouTube and everybody watching this and everybody want to get involved in it. I mean, it's great for the Pokemon hobby.
Yeah.
And it's great for investing because it creates more buzz around and more people spending money.
So what's your been your kind of strategy been? Is it are you sticking to booster boxes solely or okay?
I mean, I dabble in the slabs, but those are straight gambles. But real quick, share this. So this is Alphabet's actual top line revenue year over year. So you look at what I was saying, 2018, their total revenue, that includes everything else that they do, 136 billion, and then 2019, 161 billion. In the past 12 months, they're 318 billion. Alphabet has grown so much. YouTube was not nearly as big as it is today back then. Those are just the facts. Sorry. Don't hate me for using real numbers, not pulling stuff out of my ass. Like, these are real numbers.
You gotta remember, we're in the Pokemon space. We use feelings here.
I mean, if your feelings get hurt because I'm looking at numbers that are reported from Alphabet, I don't know what to tell you.
Hey man, if you don't love every Pokemon, you can't invest in the hobby.
I couldn't name more than Charizard and Pikachu.
Hey, at least you know their names. At least you're somewhat decent here.
I know two of them. But yeah, I mean, as far as your question, I buy every set.
Okay, so diversify.
I don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work, so I buy everything.
Do you like, based on like your feel or like the sentiment? Do you go
heavier? I buy more cases than I do of one than another.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get that wrong.
So same thing. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do the exact same thing. Like you said, I don't know which. And there's so many factors. Like you don't know which ones are going to get reprints, how big each one's reprint's going to be. Which Pokemon in the set are going to end up rising up and being like the big chases in the future. What there were like shorter printed cards or harder to grade cards. It's like, it's so hard to predict that. And, just by looking at a set and going off what people are saying or the cards in the set saying, oh, that's a strong set, I'm going heavy in that. It just doesn't always work.
Yeah. I mean, look, I can't predict the future. I have no idea what's going to work, what's not going to work. I want exposure to everything. I like diversity. So if I buy cases of every set and past performance actually happens again, I should do pretty well. I'll have whatever the next Evolving Skies is, and I'll have whatever the next dud is. But eventually, they'll all net to hopefully a nice profit. So who knows? But
what about sports? What's going on with that market?
It's crazy. Sports market's crazy.
Is it just like a straight gamble, basically? Is it just like a straight gamble?
It's difficult. And the reason I like Pokemon is because my buddy Evan and I have this conversation all the time, and you've seen the texts go back and forth. But look, with sports, you have to worry about people getting injured. You got to worry about a lot of factors. I don't have to worry about Pokemon getting injured. No, I don't have to worry about any of those things. I don't have to worry about a team winning the World Series or winning the NBA Finals or breaking or rushing statistic or whatever it is. There's just so many things, and I don't know.
I mean, I know because like you said, we're in this text chain, and sometimes like I try to follow, and I'm just like, man, I don't even know what they're talking about. You guys are going back and forth so many times about stuff. I'm like, I'm trying to follow it and like look stuff up, and I'm like, no, I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, I mean, sports cards is interesting. I mean, I buy personally for my personal collection things I want, but as far as investing, I wouldn't consider what I do investing in sports cards because I buy what I want to hold, but I'm investing in Pokemon with sealed product. I mean, I have a very few boxes of sealed sports cards. Um, but there's some questions I will answer. I'm not going to answer how big my position size is, but
Yeah,
I
guys,
didn't.
feel free to start leaving some questions in the chat that you want us to take for sure.
Yeah,
What did you see?
I didn't start investing in Pokemon until last year, or maybe a year and a half ago. Fairly new.
Fairly new to it. Yeah, I mean, I remember when you reached out to me. It was about a year ago,
Yeah,
maybe a little more than a year ago.
yeah. But I have started a relatively nice position in it.
Do you know what tag grading is?
Yeah, I'm actually shocked the PSA has held a stranglehold the way it has. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. I don't like the slab. I like the BGS slabs the best. I think tag grading had a fantastic concept. I really like the mix of AI grading and the fact that you could leave your cards in their vault and you could trade with other people and it was all online. You could make deals 24/7. I thought it was a great concept. The fact that Jeter was involved, I thought it would have got more notoriety. And they did a big push in the beginning, but it didn't pan out. I'm actually surprised SGC slabs aren't getting a bid the way that I thought they would after PSA acquired them. Um, but PSA is PSA. I mean, people just stick with it. It seems like it's always going to be number one by a long shot. Long shot.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see if, because I'm always trying to look at like I don't know. I'm really conspiratorial, right? And so I'm always trying to look at how people are going to use things. So I'm still like waiting for people to try to use the tag grading move in some way, like to try to come out, like everyone start coming out with this rhetoric, like this is a true 10 and all these other 10s aren't as valuable. And this is graded by AI. Humans can make mistakes. And then and then people will start putting their high end stuff in those slabs and trying to like portray this message to the community to try to dump them at higher prices. So I'm still waiting for that play to try to develop. We'll see.
I'll make you a bet that it doesn't happen. Here's why.
I hope not.
Too much money has gone into PSA slabs. Period. I mean, you have cards, Mickey Mantle cards that have sold for tens of millions of dollars. You have very high-end sports cards that have sold in PSA slabs for tens of millions and regular millions of dollars. You have huge transactions in those slabs, and they are the most graded cards. People are not cracking PSA slabs to take a flyer on a different grading company.
I mean, that's how I've always felt.
That's how
I've always felt. Yeah,
there's too much money that's gone into it.
It's like chess. I just always like to make sure I'm 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. I like to guess where things are going, so when they do start going that way, that I can at least warn other people and myself not get trapped in the moves.
This person said it the best. I think PSA is stuck. If they change anything, I agree 100% with that, because you know what? It's the brand recognition. It has the most liquidity. They can't do anything, and nor should they do anything, because they're going to be the most recognized, because that's where all the money's going to. That's where everybody's sending their slabs, and that's what everybody looks for and what everybody is buying. So PSA is the winner. Period.
Yeah, guys, it's like every other company, every other product out there, right? If anything ever does come up that's really good and does work, PSA will just buy them out. They'll just buy them out. They'll integrate it into their own.
They didn't have to.
Yeah, like if an actual AI company does fix it and become actually like perfect, PSA will just buy them, right? And they'll just put them out of business. They'll run them out, and they'll take.
PSA is integrating that stuff, and quite honestly, I don't know if it's even worth it for any of these companies to try to get grading. The only person people should be worried about is Michael Rubin, because eventually I think he's going to buy BGS, or he's going to start his own grading company, and then he'll have Fanatics grading directly from Fanatics. He'll have boxes of graded cards where you don't even have to send them in. He'll do some type of things because he would truly be vertically integrated because he owns Topps, which owns Bowman. So that would be the only thing I would be worried about for PSA is if Ruben gets into grading. Other than that, I think PSA is a lock.
You thought about how you're going to offload in the future? Is it going to be?
I mean, I'm certainly not going to a show with the amount of product that I have because that's going to be way too much work for me. Nor would I want to waste my time with that. I would probably either try to sell everything privately or go to a convention and try to make a deal with one of the bigger vendors and work something out and have them come pick everything up from the storage unit place, or, figure something out. Or I may take a case here and a case there when they 3 or 4X and trade in. Look, I don't think there's anything wrong. If you spend $580 on a case and it goes to 2,400, and then the next set comes out and you want to start re-rolling cases and go get 4 cases from trading in your one case, I don't think that's a horrible idea. And I may even do that in the future. I don't know.
You know what a perfect analogy is I don't know if anyone's ever traded any low volume stocks, right? Definitely like penny stocks, but low volume stocks, right? Where not a lot of shares are transacted every day. If you put an order in right at what it's trading at, a lot of times it might not fill right away, right? It might sit there, but you put it, a few cents under what it's trading at, usually fills pretty quickly. Same thing with this stuff, guys. If you're looking to get out quickly, offer people a little under what the cases are going at. They'll go real fast, real quick.
And I mean, look, if a case goes to $2,000 or 2,500, I wouldn't be opposed to sending it off to Probstein and paying 5%. I mean, that's not a horrible idea, but I don't know what it's not something I'm even thinking about, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Do you think the commercialization you were describing could lead to smaller margins for the retail collectors, investors? Ooh.
I mean, in what sense? I mean, it all depends on. Right now, you're buying it $100 a box, $105 a box, whatever it is. Say $100 a box. I mean, in order for the margin to compress, you need it to not appreciate the way it's been appreciating in the past. So I don't think that this is a question that can really be answered right now. And I don't know that these companies getting bigger is going to put pressure on the margins. That's a supply and demand issue and just basically interest issue from the different TCG categories.
Yeah, because they're already paying as much or less than card shops or vendors are, and they're selling for more. People have already complained about how much they're selling their slabs for, so they're selling for more. So yeah, I don't see it having any downward pressure on the margins. I mean, if anything, if GameStop, if and we've talked about it before, if they ever find a way to make a true market price, which is impossible.
You and I have talked about this all the time. I would love nothing more than to throw money at this and get investors and build something where this could be done, but there's too many ways to sell. It'll never happen. You have too many conventions. You got too many shops. You can't tell people this is not a regulated market like stocks. You cannot tell people what they are allowed to sell it for. So there's no way to do it.
We can't go back to the times of the Beckett magazines, can we?
No. And even then you had people selling it for whatever they wanted. No, I do not have allocation, but if somebody wants to hit me up, I'm certainly willing to do something.
Oh man, I gotta take this. All right, JB, I'm not picking on you, buddy. I get this all the time and it drives me nuts. Did you decide to set up your investments as a business, maintaining some form of selling in order to avoid the 28% collectibles Fed rates? Just factoring that in. Guys, I don't know anyone that pays 28% taxes. Just going to say that. Guys, 28% or whatever rate, that is on your profits. That is after what you pay for the product, after any and all expenses you can take off, after shipping materials, after shipping fees, the fees you pay, after basically any single thing that you can write off that has to do with the storing, the selling, anything of that item, you pay taxes on that little bit that's left, right? That's where so it's not, I bought an item for 100, I sold it for 200, it's 28% of 200. And if you have a business setup, if you want to go further and have a business setup, there's definitely ways to take down your taxes, the same way there is in real estate and other things. And so look, if taxes is the thing, I tell this with anybody, with any business, if taxes are the thing holding you back from doing anything, that's the most ridiculous excuse in the world. Go talk to an accountant. There's a million ways to help you out there. That should not be something.
Let me just say one thing. If you pay taxes, that means you made money.
True.
I think people should want to pay taxes. That means you made money. Like it's a ridiculous thing. But keep in mind what Alex said. If you have $105 cost basis and you sell something for $200, you're not paying tax on $200. You now have a $95 profit margin you're paying tax on. But if you had eBay fees, that is part of your cost. If you have shipping material, you may get that profit down to $60, and that is what you're paying taxes on, and you're paying it on your tax rate. So, I mean, I wouldn't let taxes worry you. Just keep very good records of everything and make sure you pay your taxes. But you should want to pay taxes. That means you made money.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't know if it's more to this Pokemon community as a whole, or just I don't know, but it seems like taxes come up anytime I make a video talking about numbers or gains or profits. I get, I don't know, at least 10, 20 comments about taxes. You know, you didn't tell people the taxes. What were the taxes, Alex? Like, guys, look, I'm not a, tax advisor. I'm not a tax professional. All I'm going to say is if you're that worried about taxes, set up a business, an LLC, whatever you want to do, talk to an accountant, talk about tax or cash basis accounting. And that will really help your business, your Pokemon business, with the whole tax strategies, because
I got news for anybody. If anybody is running a business and you don't have an accountant, you should rethink that. Just saying.
True.
What is this from Andy Hale? Evil investor during the live with PK and Alex. I don't know who PK is, so threw up all of his spreadsheets trying to prove his point in it, and the point he was trying to prove was so immaterial it fell flat. What did you do? I actually don't know what this person's talking about.
PK. And guys, let's not attack PK. I do not want drama with anybody. So PK, if you're watching this, man, no drama, dude. No. So he was just trying to explain, that the market wasn't always strong like it is now, and so he went back to show, like, basically from the beginning all the way through like 2014 and how the market had performed during those times, basically.
Yeah, internet wasn't as big. Social media wasn't as big. Stock market wasn't as big. The Fed didn't print a ton of money. I mean, there's so many factors about that. And I got news for everybody. Assets have grown so much. It is a different era. And back then, you definitely didn't have as many people looking at this area as an investable asset class. There were some, but not nearly as many as today. Things have changed.
Alex, they say all the Sword and Shield prices because they have been hyped up, but I want to hold until there's no Sword and Shield in the shelves. Am I thinking wrong? They want to sell because of that. No, you're not thinking wrong. I don't know if they've been hyped up. I mean, I think it all kind of plays into it. Like, you could say they're moving because they're hyped up, or you could say they're being hyped up and talked about because they're moving, because the supply's getting lower, the reprints have dried up, the cards are starting to rise in value, right? So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg type thing? It's like, are they moving because they're being hyped, or are they moving so they're being hyped, right? And so I think it's just that time, right? They're getting older, reprints are done, cards are moving, getting more scarce. People don't want to let go for less, and prices are moving up. So no, I don't think you're wrong. I'm holding mine. I'm holding my Sword and Shield.
I mean, if you think Rudy's right, every box is going to at least 500 in Sword and Shield. So who knows?
I'd love that.
I bought a bunch of Brilliant Stars at 140 before it went out of print.
Yeah. Let's see. Richard said, I believe we are currently in a golden age, Pokemon. That being said, is the current price hikes in alts and SIRs a bubble or a new trend for modern?
Can't
Um,
answer that for 5 years or so. We don't know.
yeah, the only thing I
Anything
would
can
say is
happen.
like, look at like what happened with the Sun and Moon tag team alt arts and the waifus, right? Like they had gigantic spikes. They had, people want to say they crashed. I mean, I don't really consider like a 20, 30, 35% on most of them a crash after they just rose like 100 to 200%. It's really just like a profit takers cooling off period, normalization, stabilization. And now a lot of them are starting to rise. They stabilize. They're starting to rise again. I expect a lot of these to follow that current kind of timeline, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. You see anything?
Oh my God. Like, I
What's
don't
that?
like answering these questions, but I'm going to answer it.
Which one?
The very last one.
Oh, here we go.
This is what I'm going to say this is not investment advice. This is common sense advice. Okay.
Would you
Common
recommend
sense.
someone to max a Roth IRA and 401k, 403b before investing in alternative assets like Pokemon?
So hold
Or is
on.
there a
I
percentage
can't
that grows
say
with
that these two words enough. Common sense. The common sense approach. Do not invest in any alternative asset unless it is money you can legitimately light on fire. Period. Period. Like, I'm speechless. Speechless. Like, just don't do it. This is not smart. Like, I got news for everybody. This is probably not the smartest idea. Like, this is alternative investments. Alternative. Big word.
So basically, you're telling me I'm crazy for having as much money as I do in it.
I've never asked you how much. I don't want to know how much. All I am saying is that if the choice is between investing in a 401k or a 403b or maxing out a Roth IRA versus this, I don't necessarily think alternative assets is the smartest idea. If that's even a conversation.
Look at the comments. You're calling Alex dumb then? Guys, so first off, me and my wife both max out our Roth IRAs.
And
I don't
before you go on, what Alex is doing is much different than what I am doing, what everybody else in this chat is doing. He has a lot more knowledge. He does so much of this. He's probably doing pretty well off of it. So what he does is not what we are all doing. So keep that in mind also.
But yeah, I mean, my wife has a 401k. I don't have one anymore. Obviously, I don't have a job. I haven't set up another fund. I've just been maxing the Roth IRAs. And then also we're putting, I mean, this isn't, it's, look, we can go back and forth on the financial, the financials behind paying off your house early. A lot of people are very against it. But we're also very aggressively paying off the house just because I don't want to be in debt. And I know there's smarter things to do with the money, but it just comes down to that peace of mind thing. And so that's where a lot of my money is also going. So a lot of other places I'm putting money besides Pokemon, guys. But yeah, I mean, what he's saying is right. Like, it's just like investing in like single stocks, like GameStop. It's the same thing. Crypto, it's the same thing. Like, if you're going to put money into all your money into something like this or a single stock or a single cryptocurrency, you're definitely taking a risk. Can you get rich like Roaring Kitty or one of these guys? Of course you could. Of course it could go right. You could. I mean, if you would have went all in on Pokemon with everything you had during the pandemic, you'd probably be very much more well off than what you are right now. But the risk is so high. So yeah, I would definitely have money elsewhere if you're risk averse in any way.
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is that there are statistically easier ways to make money, statistically safer ways. All investments have risk. Some have less risk than others. And if you have time on your hand, S&P funds are probably less risky, even though they haven't outpaced the S&P Pokemon sealed product. But that doesn't mean that you should be just allocating capital to Pokemon sealed product because you don't know if that's going to flip or not. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that if you're not doing other things, I don't think that this is something that should be done. I don't know.
How much do you make weekly on breaks typically? Oh man, those breaks have been doing really good. So last week, I think we sold over $3,000 in packs. It was crazy. So yeah, I mean, we went through a whole box of or a whole case of Twilight Masquerades, 6 full booster boxes. Went through almost another whole case of Crown Zenith. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people like the breaks. A lot of people still ripping packs. I think that's another
And
good
you're
sign.
ripping a lot of packs. What's your favorite set from Sword and Shield right now?
Sword and Shield or Scarlet Violet?
Oh, Scarlet Violet. That's one.
Scarlet Violet, man. It comes down to Paldea Evolved or Temporal Forces, but I will say Twilight Masquerade, and it's hard for me to say this because I know the channel's been growing, right? But I started ripping packs back when, like, I think maybe Obsidian or maybe Paldean Fates. I think Obsidian Flames, though, came out. I've been ripping packs for a good amount of sets now. I've never seen the amount of demand on Twilight I've seen with Twilight Masquerade. I mean,
Really?
I've already went through 6 cases. Had to order more. I have more on the way. Like, we are going through those boxes like I've never seen.
That set came out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's crazy how much demand there is for Twilight Masquerade, and the cards are holding up. And this was a set. And here, this goes back to what we said earlier. This was a set that everyone didn't like. Like the overall sentiment was they didn't like the masked cards. They didn't think Greninja was a good enough Pokemon to carry a set. It looked like a weak set. Everyone was going to pass on it. It's one of the most ripped sets. I mean, it's holding up. The cards are holding up. That's why it's so hard to be a set picker. And like we said, you just kind of diversify over each set, you know?
I buy everything.
Buy it all.
Buy it all.
As someone who got into Pokemon investing last year, would the current prices for Sword and Shield be too much compared to Scarlet and Violet? I have a long-term mindset, 5+ years. Oh, it's hard. It's hard. What are your thoughts on that? Like,
I don't know that these are questions that can be answered. I mean, what we've seen is the maturity level is 3 to 5 years. You got to wait to really start seeing things, because once it goes out of print, it shoots up and then it gradually goes. I mean, got to wait and see. I mean, I think everything in Scarlet and Violet has potential, but you got to let potential mature.
Yeah. Rapid fire. 1,000 in Pokemon or SoFi stock? Oh, man. Oh, but to answer that question, though, Sword and Shield. So I think Silver Tempest, you can still buy it on Pokemon Center at 143 and some change. It's already selling on TCG Player in the high 160s, 170. I think that's a great pickup. I mean, it's going to sell out eventually. The market price is already higher. I mean, it might not go to the moon right away, but I mean, anytime you can get into something that much lower than the market because of something like that. And I think Sword and Shield's a good enough set 140 seems like a good entry point. So I still like Sword and Shield. I really like the potential and the low risk of buying brand new sets if you can find them in the 80s and definitely in the 90s. It's just your risk to reward is so low. So that's why I still like Scarlet Violet right now, over like a $200 Sword and Shield box.
Yeah, I mean, at the price point, you get it for 105, you can get 2 boxes for every one of your Brilliant Stars or Lost Origin, that type of stuff. 1.5 for every Silver Tempest. I mean, if you have the time on your side and you think that history is going to repeat itself, not the worst idea in the world. But, a lot of people really like the Sword and Shield era. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I think they both can do well from here. There's a lot of demand for Sword and Shield. That's the biggest thing. There's a lot of demand. It's not being printed anymore. So when you have demand and people keep ripping, less product. So that's the key to success.
Yeah. I did not pull the Greninja yet, Boondock. So yeah, 6 cases in, no Greninja. So tells you a little bit about how hard these cards are to pull. I mean, how many is that? 6 cases. There's 6 boxes, 36 packs a box. No Greninja yet. That's why it's $170 card. Alex, really no pushback as this is really against your views. Really? About the 401k thing. It's not against my views. I've talked about it before that, especially retirement accounts. I've just, in my experience outside of retirement accounts, right? Like outside of things that are tax advantaged where you You can, pay no taxes on your gains in Roth IRAs. You defer your taxes on 401ks and get to build put your money in tax free. Those are, and especially if your company's matching, those are going to be much safer routes than Pokemon. But like excess money after that, I still would rather put it into Pokemon boxes than putting it into more funds like outside of retirement accounts. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little against what I like to do, but not really too much.
There's no correct answer on how to invest. There's just things with more risk. Everybody's got a different style.
So this might not apply to you yet, but what do you personally do with profits? Parlay, one box turns into two, pocket your profits and reinvest. Have you really taken profits yet?
Nope.
What do you usually do with your stocks? Do you like?
I mean, you got to remember, I have a lot of stuff sitting in dividend stuff that I just let the dividends compound and I just keep reinvesting them. I'm a long-term investor. I don't trade. I mean, one day I may start trading just for the hell of it, but I don't have the time. When I retire, what I plan on doing when I retire is to day trade all day, every day. But that's not until I retire. I'm more of a long-term investor. I sell a lot of options. I showed you how to do it. I sell a lot of options to generate income on stocks I own.
And what he's explain to them what you mean too, like, because we're not talking about like playing this like roaring kitty trying to buy options to go to the moon. Like he's saying he sells options on his positions.
Yeah, so basically one option contract is the equivalent of 100 shares. I sell option contracts, which means that I lock up the shares that I currently own. Somebody pays me a fee that I collect today for the right to purchase my shares at a specified date in the future at a specified price. If the stock never hits that price, there's no obligation. I keep their money and keep my shares. If the stock hits that price, I am obligated to sell them my shares at that designated price, regardless if the stock is 20% above that price. We have a predetermined agreement. Now, I always have the option to roll, which I normally do if I find myself in that position where I will buy back the contracts and rewrite options against those further date out at a higher price so the money doesn't come out of my pocket, et cetera, et cetera. But that I do not recommend anybody doing that unless you have a lot of knowledge and understand what you are doing. Do not do what I do. I have extensive knowledge in all this stuff.
There you go. Yeah, man, I actually started to sell off the Game Boy games. So that's why they're not in the background anymore. Crystal version's already gone. The other ones are up for sale. It's just one of those things. Like, I like them. They're sitting back there, but, I was just starting to think of like, I was looking up like what they were valued at. And I'm like, man, just more money I can put in other things. And, I came to that conclusion with a lot of stuff lately. Like I had a lot of stuff in my collection. Like I had a lot of stuff where I wasn't investing in it. I was just collecting it. And it just built up to a good sizable amount of money. And I'm just like, why am I really collecting this amount with this amount of money? This can really be put to work in either more, money to, churn and burn with the flips or more boxes, more cases put to get on the shelves in the basement. And so that's where a lot of those are going, man. I'm just really getting serious about the investing side of things, like even more than I already was, and really trying to put every dollar to work the best I can. So when I'm older, I can collect.
Yes, cover calls. Yes, cash secure puts. And I love that comment, Theta Gang. Theta decay is real. Very real.
The what?
Theta decay. Very real. No, I'm not buying calls, so I'm not exercising anything. I'm writing call options against my positions.
Wait, so we started the conversation talking about GameStop. Isn't the way to play that to be invested in slabs? Yeah, I mean, that's another thing to think about. So like if GameStop is removing a large amount of slabs from the market and they're listing them on their own site, or if they're eventually maybe going to sell in their stores, whatever they're going to do, it doesn't seem like they're making their way back to like eBay or the other marketplaces. And so technically, yeah, they're still in existence. They're still out there, but buyers are fickle. They don't shop everywhere. And so it could, give a temporary like lack of supply on eBay, which might drive up the prices and like give the illusion of scarcity. So I do like that play. Actually,
you know what the problem is? There's too many places to buy these things from. That's
there
the
is.
problem. And look, you've said that, I don't know how many times I've heard you say this, but we're not living in an era where having 5,000 or 10,000 PSA 10s is uncommon. And I think people got to get used to the fact that there's just more of these slabs out there. And even if you have something that's 10,000 PSA 10s and GameStop takes 1,000 of them off the market, there's still 9,000 of them. They're not scarce.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, so how's the sports hobby holding up with a lot of those high?
Sports hobby's different. They got serialized cards. You got 1-of-1s, you got 1-of-5s, 1-of-25s, you got auto cards, auto patches. You have auto cards that are out of 20 or out of 25. And those, there's only 25 of them in existence. And then actually getting a 10 on those, a 10-10 with a 10 card grade and a 10 auto grade makes it even more rare. So the sports card market's completely different in that respect. So you see things that are extremely liquid because that you get some Kobe Bryant stuff or some Jeter stuff or some Jordan stuff, Brady stuff that's auto. I mean,
so what do you think that means for Pokemon? Is that
I wouldn't be surprised if they go the Magic the Gathering round and do serialized cards at some point.
I'd love it. I speculated on that. I mean, I think it needs to be done. Either that or go to Magic the Gathering route and have collector boxes to where, I mean, it's weird because Pokemon is the collector's hobby. Like Magic is the player's hobby. But for some reason, Magic has a product geared towards collectors. Pokemon doesn't, which is kind of strange.
It's interesting because serialized cards means you really can't fake print runs either.
Exactly. You wouldn't have reprints, which would be and that's where I think they would have to have a separate product like a collector box because Pokemon's obsessed with the play. Like they're obsessed with their cards being playable.
And they should be because look, it's huge. And when I tell friends to go to Google, type in, I didn't say Alphabet because I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about Google, the search engine. When you go to Google and you type in Pokemon regional tournaments or Pokemon international tournaments, and you look at how many people go to these things, it's insane. They're focused. They got play to their strength. Their strength is that market.
So, and the fact that, you know, obviously the price of those boxes would run up to the moon if that ever happened. I think it would have to be in a separate product where players could still get the cards they needed, or in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because it just wouldn't work the other way.
I mean, Magic's interesting. It's just I don't know. I just not something I'm investing in.
Really? So no Magic stuff yet. Rudy couldn't convince you yet.
No, because the spread on the Pokemon cards is too good. I mean, I look at there's a lot of Magic boxes that don't move or haven't moved nearly as much.
Yeah. All right, Japanese. How do you guys think about the Japanese sets being printed, past rotation, potential for thoughts processed, pushed to English? Did you mess with the Japanese stuff either?
I should buy more 151 because I'm underwater on it.
Yeah.
What does it go for right now?
Man, it just that question right there is why I hate the Japanese market, because everyone you ask is going to have a different number, right? If you ask everyone. If you ask everyone what Pokemon
I'm not asking what is it worth. I'm asking what's it selling for.
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't know because this guy will say, "Well, I know someone selling it for this. Well, I know someone selling it for that. Well, I found it here for this."
I don't care if there's three different prices, 60, 70, 80. It's all lower than what I paid for it. So what's a number?
I've heard as low as 52 to 53 a box.
I'm going to go buy some right now.
But where are you going to get it? That's the thing.
Go to Amazon. Have it delivered tomorrow.
Okay. They're not going to be 52, 53 on Amazon.
So what's the other guy
that's my point. It's like it's always like these obscure like single sellers somewhere, or people finding a TikTok deal here or there, or
I don't want to do what's that guy? Pokeno? What's that guy?
Pokene, even his are high. And so it's just that's the issue with the Japanese market is there's a million, kind of like you said about like the marketplaces. Well, Japanese makes it even worse. There's a million places to buy it where it's English. You ask someone how much boxes are, they're going to say, oh yeah, they're $85, $90, right? Where it's Japanese, it's like, well, this Amazon's got it for this, eBay's this, Pokey.NE's this guy's this,
All
this
right,
guy's
so
like,
he's got it for $69.99.
yeah. So think about that. There's a $20 difference in him and someone else. Like you don't see that in English boxes. That's why I don't like it. It's too much. It's too weird.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a box of 151 Japanese just because there was a lot of hype around. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll buy another one, the dollar cost average into it, but whatever.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is it's every, like you said, everyone's got different they're trying to do. Like, especially to the guys that are playing the TikTok game and trying to make a whole bunch of different accounts and get all these deals. It's like, here's the thing, guys. Like, I'm not trying to play the 1-2 boxes here and there game. I'm trying to play like the mass case game. Like, I want to be able to buy when people are selling 5 or 10 cases at a time. I don't want to try and play like, and that's not everyone's trying to do that. So yeah, if you're just trying to pick up a box or two, go buy a box or two. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
Like,
whether you pay 60, 70, or 80 in the grand scheme of things, if you're waiting 5 years,
yeah,
I don't think you're selling at 90. So if you expect, it's the same thing with stocks, right? Anybody who was buying Apple, it didn't matter if you were paying 120 or 130 when Apple's back at 210. You're still making money on it. You're just not making as much, but is $10 really that big of a deal on every share? My philosophy is if you made money and you pay taxes on it, that's a good thing.
and then the other
try
thing
to go crazy trying to time markets. I cannot time markets. I don't try to time markets. I've seen people drive themselves absolutely insane trying to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other part of that question, do I think reprints like that are coming to English? I don't, and I'll tell you why. The MSRP thing is so wacky again with Japanese compared to English. So if you look at English, every box is still under MSRP, right? Every Scarlet Violet box. So, when you look at Japanese, all those boxes were very far over MSRP. Meaning Pokemon sees that and says, well, we got to reprint these. We got to get them back around MSRP. They're way too high, too fast, right? Where I don't think they're looking at English boxes and saying they're too high, too fast. I just don't think that's going to happen.
The English market is very interesting. It's interesting that everything sells at such a deep discount to MSRP.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
It's very weird. It's very weird that is what's going on, that you have MSRP at 164 and I've always said this to you, some of these people, it doesn't make sense how they are able to sell boxes of what they sell it at. So
yeah, you factor in,
give me distribution, call Alex will give you my number.
Right? Yeah, I mean, even when you like factor in, like they have, obviously sweetheart deals with eBay, paying low fees.
How are you selling wax for $88 a box? How?
I don't think they're making money. I don't care how much they're getting the boxes for and how much eBay is charging them. It was shipping with some fees. I just don't think, I think they're just trying to move product in hopes that a set comes out where they can make money off it and their allocations will be so high that they'll make a fortune. And then the rest of the time they're just trying to, scrape by.
And that's the big reason I've talked to you about allocation and gang distribution. And I've said, look, it's something I would seriously consider doing, but I don't think it's worth it. You got to put up so much capital.
You got to take
margins, and you have to take so much product that you don't want. It's not like from my understanding, you can't just get distribution and just buy booster boxes. You got to take everything else.
Oh man, if I told you this deal I just had to take, cause I got offered it from, I'm not going to get into all that, but anyway, I just had to put up a lot of money up front. And I had to take a whole bunch of product that I didn't even want, but it got me a bunch more Brilliant Stars and Lost Origin cases. And
yeah, something like that, if it works to your advantage for certain things, sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can tell you that
you got to take all the junk and you're going to have to break that down. You're going to have to sell it off. You're going to have to do a lot of legwork to make that money and make that margin, but it is there. But it's like doing that on a large scale. I wouldn't want any part of that.
If you don't have the time, I don't have the time to do it. So for me, being able to buy boxes or cases on eBay or buy boxes and cases at the local LCS for $100 or $95 or 105 is so close to what you would pay on distribution. It doesn't even make sense to put up the amount of money I'd have to put up.
Yeah.
It's just the margins are so razor thin. I don't understand the race to the bottom. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's no money to be made at those prices.
It's the exact point I made where I took heat for this too, because, you know, people laid love. Did you remember the eBay vault?
Yeah.
So I said that was the greatest thing to happen for this hobby, for that to go away.
That depends who you ask. A lot of people love it because they don't have to pay tax on their purchases.
And the sellers didn't have to pay any fees, right? So the reason I didn't like it is, okay, it was a race to the bottom. So if those sellers would have just stayed at the market price and just took that extra money they weren't paying in fees and just bankrolled, great, more power to them. But everyone's got to play the race to the bottom. So what did they do? They started undercutting the market. Everyone that got in the vault undercut. And then what they did is they had, you know, 13.5%, 13.25% to work with in fees. They eventually got all the way down to the bottom, where now all the cards were about 13% less than what they were selling for. And so they just took away all the margin that used to be there just because they weren't paying it. And it's just like, all right, just get rid of the stupid thing. Get all the cards back up to where they're supposed to be priced again. It's the same thing. The only people that get hurt are the ones who are buying it and keeping it in the vault and not paying taxes or shipping. But as far as like sellers, all the sellers ruined it because they took away all the benefits of it because they just lowered the price of all the cards.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at RNG Games and watch any of his videos, I mean, he's taken some massive losses on some of these sets, and he's had to really work to try to get his money out by breaking down pallets, not cases, pallets of stuff that he got stuck with. So it's not all rainbows and roses when you're working on that level.
No, it's a job, right? It's a job. It's work.
Yeah.
Do you ever exercise any of your calls?
I answered that before. No, I write cover calls. I don't buy calls. So I am the one that is selling them to people who are buying them.
One of the biggest issues is buying scams or reseals. Probably not an issue buying from reputable sellers. Way to better confirm. I don't want to open a case to check.
Yeah, buy from an LCS.
Yeah, and guys, like all those big sellers on eBay, they're usually the cheapest. They're all trusted, right? So like there's P Football Pete, there's like Cataclysm Collectibles, there's Anderson Authentics, like all those cheap guys, those are all legit. They're all legitimate. You can ask how they do it so cheap. We were just talking about it. We don't really know, but they have obviously.
You go with P Football Pete. This guy or gal, whatever they are, moves so much product that they are probably spending millions of dollars a month in product because of how much they're moving. I mean, they're not just moving one type of thing. I mean, they're moving thousands of cases a month of different products, and they have very high ratings on eBay. So somebody like that, I have bought from Football Pete, and I don't think that I've gotten scammed. So,
do you use a specialty P&C insurance provider? I don't know what P&C stands for. Do you?
Property and casualty.
Okay. For sealed product, or do you have a business policy? Doesn't seem like many carriers offer. I don't have coverage. I don't have an insurance policy.
You and I have talked about this. We can talk offline.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have one. Do you have one?
No comment.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, GameStop will expose a whole new customer basis. I agree. It's only going to be a positive for the hobby, in my opinion.
But in all seriousness, on the whole insurance coverage thing, if you have stuff at your house, you could put it on your homeowner's policy, but you need to itemize and list it and send it into your carrier and show receipts and go through the entire process.
I mean, that seems like it's a mess, though. Like, because wouldn't you have to redo that all the time? So I'm always like adding to it. Yeah.
And at some point, it's going to drive your homeowners up, but that is one way to not do business insurance.
And that, you think that's a cheaper way?
we'd have to price it out. I don't know what you have, so I have no idea. I mean, your homeowners comes with a certain limit. I mean, I don't know what the limit on your homeowners is, but pretty easy for you to go get your homeowners insurance policy and see what the limits are for your items. And really quick, you'll know if you have more Pokemon than that exceeds the limit, plus all the other stuff in your house, which I'm assuming you probably do. So
Probably.
that would be the first thing I would do is I would call and see how much it would be to increase that limit and see if you can go that route and see if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know a lot of people asking about the games. Yeah, so the retro games, complete in box, I do have a good. I mean, especially if they're sealed. You know, all retro like NES, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Game Boy, all that stuff. Like I mean, okay, so the Crystal version, the Pokemon Crystal, complete in box, it wasn't sealed. It sold pretty quickly for $1,000. I mean, that was pretty good. And a lot of the other ones have a lot of watchers. Like I just listed them a couple days ago, so. They seem to be getting a lot of traction. I've had questions on them, things like that. So yeah, there's a market for video games.
A market for everything these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy.
Did you see a couple more you wanted to take anywhere?
I mean, Pokemon card investors are amateurish and it seems underfunded.
Where does it say that?
I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd be.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I can't even. I'll just say this. I'll just say that I'm not going to speak on Steven's net worth.
Go on YouTube and type in Collecticon and just watch a video what people are spending and how many booths there are. Like, I think you'd be surprised.
I put it this way: I personally know people I've met in this hobby with 8-figure plus net worths that invest in this stuff. So. And then when you get into like the broader like sports cars and things, you have people like Patrick Bet-David. You have people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars investing in this stuff. I mean, yeah, to think that, I mean, I get it. I get when you like watch like some of the cheesy videos on YouTube and you look at the comments, like, yeah, I get it. There's a bunch of kids out there playing, games and buying one booster box or one card and thinking they're investors. I get it. But there's a lot of people who are taking this very seriously and know what they're doing. I will say
there's serious money in the hobby. The last big sale, I think, if I remember correctly, was $13.5 million or $12.5 million for an SGC 9.5 Mickey Mantle 52 tops. The estimates for the PSA 10 is they're saying could fetch $30 million at auction. I mean, I get it. It's a 52 mantle, but go look at what Jordan rookies are selling for. Go look at what Jeter rookies are selling for. Go look at what the Gretzky rookies are selling for. I mean, you have serious money in these cards. Serious money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what do you take from that too? So like it seems like baseball, last I checked, is the only hobby that hasn't got overtaken by modern yet, right? Basketball.
There's a lot of modern, but there's also a ton of vintage because baseball's always been the biggest card market.
But now, why is basketball, football, hockey have all been like the top 10 list of sales ever? They've all been taken over by the numbered modern cards. Why do you think baseball's held up against those?
Well, I think there's a lot of nostalgia with the 52 mantle and the Jackie Robinsons. There's a lot of people that like vintage baseball. Baseball is just, it's the oldest. A lot of people that have money are older. It's what they remember, what they watch with their parents is a nostalgia factor to it. And, it's not a lot of it. There's not a lot of 52 mantles out there in great condition. There's just not. You didn't have grading back then. A lot of that stuff didn't survive. There's not a lot of 51 Bowman mantles. There's not a lot of Babe Ruths. There's just not a lot of them. Scarcity.
Yeah.
Yes, there's big prices on modern, but a lot of those cards that fetch those huge prices with basketball, you can't get those anymore for those prices. They all come down. but the vintage is holding up well. But there's also a lot of modern cards that are doing fantastic. So it's interesting. But there's a lot of money in the hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only getting more. I mean, I get the whole like Logan Paul and then like, Post Malone buying that one ring card. Like I get those are good headlines and stuff. And yeah, like they have a lot of money, but I mean, there's just a lot of private people that have a lot of money you'll never hear about that just spend, tens of thousands like daily or weekly on this stuff. I mean, it's wild when you really start pulling back the veil, what's happening behind the scenes. And trust me, I get what it looks like. I get a lot of like, you get that amateurish vibe from some people out there, and it's real like baseline stuff. But no, behind the scenes, there's a lot of real money being put to work and a lot of real planning. Like, he said, like for the next, people always throw around those numbers, 3, 5 years, 10 years. Like, no, there's a lot of plays and like positions being made for actually 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So,
I mean, if you really want to grasp how big the sports card market is, type in the National into YouTube and watch some videos about the National Card Convention. And then look at what Jeff Wilson is doing and then some other people are doing. And you'll see buying cards for 5, 10, 15, 30, 40 grand, more common than you think. Transactions are happening all the time. And then start looking at how many conventions there are. Not your little, nothing against it because you can find great stuff and they're all over the place. 60 to 100 table shows at the Hilton hotels or anything. Those are great. But I'm talking the big 300 to 500 table conventions or even the bigger ones like Collecticon or the National. Look at how many of those are popping up. Look how big Comic-Con got and how many Comic-Cons there are and how big the comic book market has gone for graded market. It is crazy how much capital is infused in this. And with more capital getting infused in this, you can bet there's going to be more interest in this.
Yeah, I agree, man. We've been going for about 2 hours. Is there anything we didn't touch on you wanted to touch on before we wrap things up tonight?
I don't know. I really want you to pull a Charizard for me.
What's that? What's going on?
I want you to pull a Charizard for me.
Pull what Charizard?
I don't know. The one from Paladin Fates.
Paladin Fates? We got you right here, man. I got you.
No,
Here
but
it
I want
is.
you to, yeah, I can go buy that too, but I want you to pull one.
No, I pulled this. I graded it, man.
No, but for me.
Well, I pulled it once. I could do it again.
All right, so rip one and I'll send you the money.
Oh,
Rip
so
it.
I'll
It's
rip
good.
it, and then if I pull it, then I'll get paid. But if not, no.
No. Rip it. I'll send you the money.
I think that sounds like a deal, though. Here, let me rip it first. If I hit it, you can just send me like the cost of the ETB. If I miss, we'll just call it even.
No, I'll send you the money regardless. Just rip it.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. Let's see if you pull it.
I don't got.
You don't need to set up another camera. Just freaking rip it.
Oh, dude, no, come on. We're really doing this?
Yeah, why not?
All right. All right. You guys ready? Oh, man, we're having a good time tonight, apparently. All right, 9 packs. 9 packs, ladies and gentlemen. First one. You guys ready? Can you imagine if we really pull it?
If you pull it, you're sending it out to get graded and billing me.
Oh yeah, that was the other the business model that we talked about, right?
I told you should do it.
All right, here we go. All right, Duo Shiny, first pull. All right, no Charizard in the first pack. No Charizard first pack. It's okay. We did get you the Duo, the baby shiny. It's not a bad hit. Got some value. All right, here we go, guys.
These comments are hilarious.
What are they saying now? Good luck, evil. All right, here we go. Come on. Charizard! No. We got you the Toad Scroll EX, man. I know you needed that one for your collection.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I just think that Charizard looks cool. I actually I bought even though I have a couple of cases, I bought the Obsidian Flame one.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Did you get it graded or raw?
Yeah, I bought PSA 10.
Yeah, I like that card, man.
Yeah, I think it's cool looking.
Fortress EX. Fortress EX.
Is that a good card?
No. I just wanted to try to get you excited.
No.
What could get you excited? What if I pulled like a base set Charizard out of here somehow?
No, I just want the Paladin Fates SIR or whatever it is.
Hey, we got you the full art shiny Fortress EX though. You know what's bad about this is if somehow we do pull the Charizard out of these next 5 packs, it's gonna look like it's set up.
How's it gonna look like it's set up? You ripped it open on camera.
It's gonna be like, oh, you had to seed that in the pack. There's no way you just pulled the Charizard on command.
Okay.
There's no way
you didn't just take the freaking plastic off of it and blah blah blah. You had no idea I was gonna tell you to do this.
Oh man. Wait, whoa.
What was that in the back? What was that?
It was the penny. So hey, that's actually a big hit. That's a big hit. If you look that one up, that's actually a big hit. I think it's like number 5 maybe in the set. Something like that. Maybe like 6, 7 in the whole set. And it's a big set.
What does mogging mean?
Huh? Mogging?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
No idea, man. Couldn't even tell. Another one? Dude, this is actually a pretty good ETB. Now we got a full art shiny Clodsire. This is a decent ETB. You picked a good one. I mean, no Charizard right now, but we got 3 packs left.
All right, we got 3 packs.
Come on, give him something good. Dude, we just got the penny. We just got the penny SIR. Give me a break. Just got back. He's ripping. What's he ripping? We got some Paladin Fates, guys. Entei. Hey, another good baby shiny. Entei, one of the legendaries. Not bad at all. We'll take that. Dude, I'm not going to lie, man. This is a really good ETB.
Yay. Is there anything worth grading yet?
I'll look at that penny. That penny might be worth it.
Okay.
You got eBay up right now?
No,
look up penny 239 is the number. Penny 239 PSA 10. That actually might have some value. I'm not 100% sure on how it's doing, but I know it's one of the SIRs. It's a top hit.
54 by it now. All right, so 46 with 21 hours left and 14 bids.
Oh, that's it. All right.
No, listen, that's worth grading.
I mean, honestly, for just a ETB, it's not bad.
That's definitely worth grading.
All right, last pack, man. This is it. This is our last chance. Got the Palafin. Palafin illustration. So let's take a look. Let's take a look. We got a good amount. We got a stack of hits here, actually. All right.
A stack of hits. Okay.
Come on, camera. Hold on, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Well, it was just focusing perfectly, was it not?
Yeah, I still don't understand what mogging means after that definition.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna get this to work.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's going to know what these cards are. So
I know. I don't know why it's not working. All right, so we got Palafin.
Okay.
Got you the Noivern.
Okay.
The Entei shiny. That's a good hit.
I feel like I have a bunch of those.
Full art Clodsire. We got you the Penny SIR. Full art Fortress EX. The regular Fortress EX. Got the Toad Scroll EX, and we got the Duo shiny. So I mean, what is that? It's 9 packs total. and we got 3, 6, 9 hits. You got a hit per pack.
All right. So send me the penny and keep everything else for your things that you do when you give people cards when they don't hit. I will donate the rest of them to you.
Are you sure, man?
Yeah. All good.
Penny's got a couple white dots on top, but otherwise it's well centered. Pretty clean. Not too bad. Not too bad.
All right. So send that to me. Keep the rest for your whatchamacall, and just let me know what to send you.
The box of second chances?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Box of second chances.
You got mogged. You got destroyed. What, dude? This not the
Hey,
you know what?
I'm gonna get wrecked.
Yeah, I think I finally got old. I finally have not kept up with the lingo.
Yeah, I'm not keeping up with the lingo.
I just don't know the lingo. The mogging is in my mind to effortlessly outdo others. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Any final thoughts, words of wisdom to leave us with?
I don't know if we have words of wisdom, but I do think that the Pokemon market is very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what Ryan Cohen does, because I don't know what else GameStop is going to use this money for, because the video game industry is dying and they've already made the push into Pokemon. So I think that's just the next segment that makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's going to change? Like, I mean, do you think we're going to see any changes like soon, or do you think it's going to be like are we looking at like, year 2, 3 years before things really start changing with GameStop and stuff?
It's going to take at least 6 months.
Just things happen slow with big companies, right?
Well, it's not just that. Even if it's all hands on deck, there's a lot of things that need to happen. I mean, how quickly can he let's just say, play it out. Let's say that he does do it. How quickly can you refurbish the stores? How quickly can you get the distribution in? How quickly can you set up your back end? How quickly can you get all the systems and processes in place? It's going to take them at least 6 months, I would say.
Yeah.
So, I think by next year, we're going to have a really good idea of what they're going to do.
The real question is this
what it does.
The real question is I wonder if GameStop website is really going to be the main place, like that in stores, maybe the main place to sell the slabs, or if they end up getting on eBay.
No, they should do it on their own.
You think?
Take the fight right to eBay. You can always reroute and go to eBay. Well, they already have the infrastructure. Why not take them on and create their own GameStop marketplace? And if they do GameStop marketplace with GameStop conventions and GameStop League and GameStop tournaments, they can vertically integrate themselves.
Wow, that'd be pretty crazy. How big is eBay? I mean, eBay bought out TCG Player.
eBay is what, $30 billion company? Hold on.
I mean, is there a world where GameStop starts to just gain some notoriety and eBay buys them out?
eBay's $26.8 billion company.
I mean, it seems like eBay gets a little worried anytime anyone gets any type of real traction in like that space. And so it's like that just seems like they just like to envelop them and make them under their banner at that point.
I mean, I think the challenge for eBay would be that they don't have the experience running physical retail. So I don't know that they would really want to do that, but who knows?
Yeah.
But I do think that GameStop is going to have to do something in the TCG realm. I don't know what else they can do.
Well, guys, I'll leave this link up. This is Steven's. If you guys missed it, this is his Seeking Alpha page where, I mean, like I said, he's got almost 32,000 followers. He has almost 1,000 articles written on pretty much any type of investing you could possibly be looking into. Anytime there's news with stocks, he breaks down the financials with them and really gives good info. So, make sure to check him out in there if you guys are interested. And, I don't have a YouTube to shout out for you because you refused to make a YouTube. I think you tried, right? You tried to make a YouTube channel for a second. You said, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I was going to do an alternative asset when I decide not to.
Right. I remember that.
I don't have the time to do that. I just
Yeah, I
don't.
get you.
I'm doing too much already.
All right, guys. We're going to call it there. I'll leave the link to that in the description after, and see you guys back here in a new one soon. We are out.